I'm here shortly. And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nights at the Round Table, the Astronomers Hangout. My name is John Kramer, and this is our first public event, so I want to certainly welcome you. We're going to be going ahead and talking with different folks here in the Hangout. I'll introduce them here momentarily, but the purpose of this Hangout mostly is to go ahead and talk about all things amateur astronomy. Whether that is equipment, certainly we want to talk about observing, any interesting topics that we've had to share on the forums. We have a very varied background between myself and the other co-hosts and members here on the forum. So I will go ahead and just briefly say that I run a blog at theipiece.blogspot.com. I also kind of dabble in podcasting with the podcast at the Eyepiece, and you can find that at Blog Talk Radio /at the Eyepiece. And I am an amateur astronomer here from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and I certainly enjoy mostly sharing the views online with others. With some live broadcasts and dabbling a little bit into astrophotography, but that is certainly not my specialty, but there's a number of people here certainly that falls under the specialty there. So let's go ahead and go make rounds. I'll go ahead and first start off with you, Mike. Mike Phillips there wants to give a brief introduction there and say hello.
Hey, my name is Mike, and I actually went to school for astronomy, although my current occupation has nothing to do with that. I work in the computer networking space and kept up my hobby, and I've now built my own telescope.
That's right. That is a home-built telescope right there behind you.
Yes, sir.
Has done some fabulous work. Well, I'm sure we'll go ahead and we'll talk more about that.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and get on over to Craig and Tammy Temple. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, good evening. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
All right.
Very good.
So we're Craig and Tammy Temple. I guess we got in the hobby about 6 years ago. Our primary, I guess, I don't know if I want to say claim to fame, but the thing we enjoy doing the most is deep sky astrophotography. Also, we do some solar astrophotography, and we have been known to dabble in planetary, although it is absolutely not our strong suit, but it doesn't keep us from trying. So we're from Hendersonville, Tennessee, so a little north and west of John, and we for a while we did a lot of our astrophotography from right here in our driveway. For the most part these days, I would say that's restricted to narrowband. The light pollution just gets worse and worse, so that's our enemy. Narrowband is one way to get around it, but that only takes you so far. So lately we've been into traveling to dark locations so that we can get our LRGB, and Fall Creek Falls being a very good spot for that. And in fact, we just got back yesterday from Fall Creek Falls. Great trip. Had some outreach. It was a good time. We're going back in August. So.
Yeah, great. We'll go ahead and circle back around. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I'd love to hear that.
Okay.
Let's go ahead over to Bill McLaughlin. Hello there, Bill.
Hi there. Just give you a brief background on me. I'm principally an imaging individual as opposed to a visual. I do some visual. My wife has a scope that she does visual with, and we had that out, for example, this last weekend, 12-inch Dob. But principally, I've got 3 telescopes, 3 refractors mounted on the same mount, and do mostly deep sky imaging. I have been known to do solar, but solar and planetary are not really my thing. And I have a website where most of my images are displayed. Got a couple of new ones I can show tonight if folks are interested.
Hey, absolutely. And everybody, by the way, on the names there, everyone has their links and whatever web pages that they wanted to go ahead and promote up there. Now, speaking of links and pages and such.
Can I interrupt for a second, John?
Yeah.
Bill, where are you from?
I'm in Central Oregon.
Oh, okay.
So fairly dark sky site. We're about 5 miles east of a town of about 8,000. But south of us, there's nothing for about 100 miles. North of us, there's very little for about 25. And east of us, I think the nearest major town would be Boise, which is 250 miles away.
Wow.
So it's
Wow.
pretty dark. We get sky glow from our small town to the west. To the west, but to the east, nothing, and to the south is pretty good. North isn't too bad, so we get pretty good conditions most of the time when it's not cloudy, of course.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we all have to deal with that. Some obviously a lot more than others. All right, and certainly last but not least, we have Ahmed Jaber from. Well, go ahead and share what you do there, Ahmed.
Hello, everybody. My name's Ahmed. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I've been into astronomy for about 3 years. Did a little bit of visual, but then I decided that I like photography more. I don't take many images, but it's nice. I run a astronomy forum on Facebook. It's called Telescope Addicts. It's a good group. We got friendly people. I like it.
Absolutely. You have well over 10,000 people right there on that group, so you've done a fantastic job. And I thought we'd talk a little bit about that now that we've seemed to have made the rounds. If you have not checked out Telescope Addicts on Facebook there, I highly recommend that you do so. A lot of great content there, and in particular, you want to talk a little bit, Ahmed, being that we're on you there, about some of the things that the Telescope Addicts do, in particular the imaging contests.
We do a bi-monthly imaging contest. It's divided into 3 tiers based on experience level. That way everybody gets a fair shot. The winners of the contest get shown, their pictures are shown at the top of the page as their group banner, which I'm trying to see if I can find a picture to screen share, but yeah.
Oh, no problem.
Right.
We can go ahead and post that up too. I can go ahead and do a quick share it if you want from my Facebook page.
Thanks.
If that would be, no problem. So let's go ahead and do that one.
I'm not sure how to do this.
No problem. All right, so let me go ahead and share that out real quick. I think that's the page. Here we go.
Yep, there it is.
Yes, so here is the Telescope Addicts.
With my plug
Facebook
right on top.
page.
Let me unpin that now. Done.
So plenty of good content in there. Feel free. There's a number of really nice posts on here. In fact, one of them, I'm going to scroll down because actually one of those was a topic that I wanted to kind of bring up. Yeah, this Jeff Curran here had posted up some really interesting things regarding stellophane that just happened, I guess, this past weekend. Anybody get a chance to check those out? Oh, hey, there's Tom. Welcome, Tom.
Hi.
Hey, Tom.
Another Oregonian.
Trying to. It's a warm evening over here in Beaverton. Can you guys hear me okay over there? I'm trying to get my.
Why don't you go ahead, Tom? Put up your lower 1/3 if you remember how to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to do here.
All right. Yeah, move on over to the left. You'll see your little window menu options pop out. Hit Control Room there, and then you should see a circle with the silhouette of a head, and you should be able to pop it in there. And it's Nath, right? Tom Nath, right? Nathy. All right. Thank you. All right,
okay, I got control room around here somewhere. There we go. Oops,
Good. Oh, by the way, too, I was hoping that Stephen Ramsden would be able to hop on in here, too, from the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, if he's listening. Stephen, if you want to hop on in, by all means, come on in and join us.
We have cookies.
Yeah, unless they're cleared. Unless you've cleared their cookies, then you're out.
Some Tim Tams. Tim Tams.
Yeah, I have to say it's pretty hot here too, Tom. It's 90 degrees right now, and if you look at my feed, you'll see the thunderstorms over toward Bend.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
Oh
I've
yeah.
got the observatory open, but I'm kind of well. It'll close itself if it starts to rain even a little. But
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
about the
it's,
Tennessee folks, but it's in the 80s here in North Carolina, which is actually really cold for us. We should be like pushing 100.
Oh, I tell you, it's been
Woo!
very enjoyable here the last couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
it's
Comfortable.
my thermometer says 93 out here.
Wow.
For some reason, I can't get the lower third to work, but that's
Well, that's all right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself there, Tom? That way everybody knows.
okay.
And move on here.
Well, I'm a amateur astronomer over in Beaverton, Oregon. I, like most other folks, I have my own little observatory that's in another community over here in a little place called Scappoose. It's about a half-hour drive from me. It's on a friend's property. And I've been observing for roughly about 10 years, and I get into just about anything, when I can anyway. Right now I did a bad thing and hurt my telescope. I did the unpardonable sin of leaving it on while it was tracking and walk away from it for a week. So the scope, yeah, it burned out the azimuth motor, burned out the motor controller board, and I don't know what else happened. So it was a very expensive mistake.
What did it wind itself like a yo-yo around?
Yeah, it wound itself around. Yeah, because I didn't have the slew limits set and cord wrap, and it just went until the cord couldn't go any further, and it did nasty stuff.
All right, so there's our safety tip for the night, folks. Don't leave your scope going for any prolonged period of time, especially not a week long, while it's trying to track. So, all right, there we go. Good safety tip already. No, I wanted to. So I'm going to get back here to something that was on Telescope's attic, and I love seeing this. Is a lot of innovation at Stellophane, because if I'm not mistaken, isn't Stellophane primarily for folks that build their own telescopes? And look at the design here on this thing. I mean, that is just a very interesting design. Yeah, very interesting design. You know, there's a gentleman by the name, I think I want to say Alan Fuller, or Fulham. He does a lot of great designs. I might be able to find that, but I just saw that picture. I said, wow, that is a really cool. I wish I had the ability to design and make something like that, because that is just really innovative and cool looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
I'm sure as nice to look at, it's probably just as nice to look through. Absolutely. So
extendable legs.
Contrast. Yeah. Straight light.
Yeah, you'll get being open-ended like that. You'll probably get a little bit of that. But hey, everything has its a little bit of trade-offs. But that is just really cool. That is very
definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Well, I like the privy in the background.
Oh, the little shed back there? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Portable computer station looks like. Yeah.
He's got. Yeah, I didn't even notice that until now. That's a refractor.
Oh, I see.
Going into the viewing booth there.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a solar. It looks almost like a solar telescope, maybe.
That's clever.
He's in the dark there.
I'll have to see if there's. Let me see if there's a closer image for that here. It doesn't look like it.
Well, I'm wondering if that thing.
Huh.
Just the guy sits in one spot and the whole scope just moves around, so he doesn't have to go all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's a base to the whole building too. I wonder if the whole thing must rotate around. That's another interesting design there. I'd have to find out more about that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a Kickstarter campaign that ended recently for a rotating dome.
For a rotating dome?
Yeah, it was like the whole thing. I'm gonna figure out how to screen share. That way I can show you guys.
When you move your mouse over to the left, you're going to see a green arrow on a monitor screen pop out on the vertical menu bar of the Google Hangout. And that's the way. Yeah, there you go.
I can't tell if okay. So you guys got it.
Yeah.
Yep. So the whole thing there that you're looking at rotates, like with the viewer and everything in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's almost like those binocular chairs that that rotate.
Oh.
Yeah.
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 The one I like is the binocular love seat. Somebody made just gargantuan thing for two people to sit on.
Yeah, those are pretty nice too. Yep, I've seen those.
I always thought about making one of those, but my eyes are too bad at my age, so I think imaging is more appropriate.
Yeah, and we can expand upon that. Imaging certainly has exploded. Tell us a little bit about the folks that do their imaging here. Maybe we'll start off with you, Bill, if you want to talk a little bit more about some of the equipment that you use. I know you had that live shot up there a little while ago, and if you want to talk a little bit about the equipment, your techniques, and all that good stuff, I'm all ears.
Yeah, I can switch back to the equipment here real quick. There we go. I've got the observatory about the roof half closed right now because that might decide to dribble on me. So I'll go ahead and open it back up a little bit so we can see it better and zoom in with actually basically just looking at my security camera here, which I also use for checking the equipment position and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to Bill's observatory. I wish I had.
Yeah, you were out here with George, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, George is. He was out here last Saturday. Tom Carrico from another imager from Corvallis spent the weekend here, and we're doing a cooperative image right now. What you're seeing at the top there, if you look at the scope, way in the back is kind of a square thing. That's a flat panel, which is controllable from the house, so I can point the scopes toward that in order to take flat field frames to correct for vignetting and such. On the very top of the top white scope is a little guider that I don't use too much. Mainly I use that if I need to track on the head of a comet or something like that, where I can guide on something where I need an external guide scope that uses a little S-big camera, the red thing on the back here, and a little S-big guide scope. I think it's 100 millimeter focal length, so it's pretty short. Underneath that is a Takahashi FSQ 106 f5 telescope. Use that one probably more than anything. On the back of that is an STT, S-big STT 8300 with a self-guiding filter wheel. The red part is the camera, and the black part is the self-guiding filter wheel.
That's a nice camera.
Below that is basically the same camera, same filter wheel, different set of filters, and then that's mounted on a slightly longer focal length Takahashi, which is a TOA 130, which is 1,000 millimeter focal length. Below that is a Stellar View Raptor 105, I think it is. Yeah, it's 105. I sound confused because I don't use that scope very much. Mainly, I just put a DSLR on the back of it once in a while, which means it gets used about 4 times a year. But it's a pretty good scope too. I don't get a lot of opportunity to use it. And then that all sits on a Paramount ME, one of the older ones. And it's been a really good mount scope combination. I have it set on a. I'll see if I can move it around here. Let me go to my control here, and go the other direction so you can see the back end of it. In order to mount the 3 scopes, I was extremely concerned that it was going to be rigid enough. You can buy aftermarket plates for mounting scopes side by side, but they're usually just a single aluminum plate. which leaves a lot of opportunity for flexure. So because the scopes are not super heavy, and because the mount will take 150 pounds as far in terms of its carrying capacity, and also because I've got some machining capability here at the house, what I did was I manufactured what is essentially a double plate that is kind of in a sandwich arrangement. Top plate is 1/2 inch thick, bottom plate is a 3/4 inch thick that attaches to the mount, and it is and get this to go the right direction here. There we go. I'm not used to using the slew controls. There's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches in between the plates, and let me zoom in here so that if you look, I don't know if I can get to that. There we go. If you look in between, this is the top plate, this is the bottom plate that's attached to the mount, and all of the electronics, focus controllers, hubs, extenders, etc., are mounted in between the plates. And they are wired down through the mount, which the Paramount lets you do, which makes me basically be able to control pretty much everything from down at the house, from the flat panel to the scopes to the cameras, and turn everything on and off. And basically, unless something goes wrong, I don't even have to go up to the observatory.
Nice.
So it's about 300 feet up the hill, so I do have the capability of doing that if I want to. But
got a question for you real quick.
Bill, what do you use to run your imaging sessions? Since it's all, it sounds like you're all automated. So
yeah, that's an interesting question because I recently changed that. I used to use, and I've used Maxim DL for a long time. I think since version 1 back in early 90s or mid 90s, and had used that for years, and then started using Bob Denny's Astronomers Control Panel, generally known as ACP, and that for focusing, of course, with ACP you use Focus Max, and for camera control you use Maxim DL. And I've tried some of the other ones like CCD Autopilot. I stopped using that because I had kind of a, shall we say, personality conflict with the developer. And then I tried using CCD Commander and just didn't particularly like it. It wasn't sophisticated enough for me. I used ACP for a long time. It works very well. Bob Denny has probably got the best software support, not only in the astronomy business, but in any software business at all. He's the only guy I have ever had where I posted a question on the forum, and instead of answering me on the forum, he actually called me up on the phone at his own expense. And he does this apparently regularly. ACP is a really good program, but it's a little on the geeky side in the sense that there's a lot of text files and command line stuff and that sort of thing. It works very well. Bob Denny's a great guy, and he writes some good stuff, including Pinpoint, which is an astrometric program. But the problem I eventually had with it wasn't because of ACP, it was because of Maxim DL and to a lesser degree Focus Max, which, Maxim DL has not had some of its problems corrected as quickly as they should be, in my opinion, and we've had some glitches and some issues with it off and on. So I started to try early this spring a program called Sequence Generator Pro, and after getting a few things corrected, which the developer was quite responsive in correcting, and it uses PhD for guiding but does all its own camera control, I've found that actually is as good as for the aesthetic imager as ACP, and perhaps a little bit better in terms of being a little less geeky and more user-friendly interface. So I'm pretty much have switched over to Sequence Generator Pro, which I call SGP, and like it quite well. I think it kind of depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a lot of science, you'd probably prefer ACP. If you're doing aesthetic imaging, I think most people would probably prefer Sequence Generator Pro. So that's for the image capture and control. Of course, I'm using the Sky because I've got a Paramount, which is they kind of go together because they're both software BISC.
Right.
And then for processing, it's pretty much pixie inside about 95% of it, 99% of it. Just some finishing operations might be done in Photoshop, but so that's pretty much the system and the way I use it.
Yeah, so you went the really low-end economical approach, huh?
Not in terms of equipment, although I have to say I've accumulated this equipment over many years. Like I say, I first started imaging in 1993, and the only camera, if you can call it that, was really not a camera. It was a guider, the SD4. I believe the pixel count was 192 by 165 pixels, so it was monochrome, of course, only. Originally bought it as a guider-to-guide film, but discovered that, hey, I can take some rather crude but very quick and nice pictures with it. So went from there to the ST5, and then to the ST7, and then to the ST10, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Selling one and buying the other one as we go. And the same thing with the scopes. I've had 14-inch RC scopes, and recently sold that, and just decided to simplify with refractors and go with wider field stuff. And it's worked out well. The problem with the long focal length scopes, they can take great images, but they require truly exceptional seeing conditions to get the best out of them, and those just happen so seldom that it wasn't terribly practical. So have decided to be a refractor person.
Well, very good. Now, as we're kind of moving around here, Craig and Tammy, you want to share a little bit about some of the equipment that you're using for your wonderful astrophotography as well?
Sure. I went over here to see if I could. Let's see how this works. See if you can see that. I don't know if that's coming across or not.
Yeah, we got it.
Yep.
Okay. So this is just like Bill. I mean, that's a StellarView SVR 105. Unlike Bill, we use it quite heavily. It gets, and that's a QSI 583 WSG hanging off the back with a Lodestar guider. This was just this past weekend at Fall Creek Falls, and that's a Takahashi EM200 mount. You can see Viewbuster here. That's a micro-touch autofocuser or electronic focuser control on the other side. And then this gaggle of stuff is just our various, that's a field battery and a little box with some hubs and controllers and wiring and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because we still do everything like the dinosaurs do.
Yeah, Tammy.
Yeah, right.
I'd like to about the 105. I'd kind of like to inject, and I'll let you finish what you were saying, but just remind me when you're done. There's some interesting issues about the carbon fiber tubes versus the metal and the which would be the Takahashis versus the other. I've run some tests on thermal change, and the results are, shall we say, counterintuitive. So, anyway, I'll let you continue.
Yeah. I think I know where you're going with that, and I would have to agree that we've seen some weird things, but this is, we do everything. We don't have a permanent setup, so everything we do is set up and tear down. Even from night to night. I mean, when we're imaging from home, of course, we're setting up in our driveway, so we have to tear down, or unless we don't, want to go anywhere. Yeah, we set up and tear down, and everything is, I've taken some pretty good links to make sure things are portable. I mean, I've got lots of boxes, and I think I may own some stock in Pelican cases, but I'm not sure. I sure have a bunch of them. I would think I have to own a chunk of the company. Yeah, we've got lots of cases. We take things with us camping. As we were talking earlier, John. We go like to travel to dark sites and take our gear with us. So we kind of you know, Tammy and I had tossed around the idea of maybe upgrading, getting a little bit bigger mount that could maybe take some more weight, but I think from the portability standpoint, I think that's about as big as we care to go to move things around and you know, be kind of easy. So
Yeah,
John,
and that image there is at Fall Creek Falls. That's the observing area at Fall Creek Falls, which is a state park right here in Middle Tennessee, just to the southeast of where I'm at.
right.
And pretty good site there for outreach. Now, I'll come up here, and this image here, is that coming through for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Gorgeous.
Craig and Tammy took this, so why don't you talk a little bit about this awesome image there, Craig?
Yeah, so this is you know, obviously the row area, Antares. We took that and we went down to the Natchez Trace State Park, which is southwest of here. We did that over the 4th of July. That's another good dark location if you'd like to go and camp. You know, they've got a couple of security lights, but the camp host is very accommodating. In fact, he's willing to go turn them off as long as nobody cares. So, you know, they're real cool down there. They like you know, they like having us around. He likes to come around and see what we've done and what we're doing and talk to us about it. So there's some interest there.
Cool.
And the week we were there over the 4th, I mean, we had people. You know, we left our scope set up and just covered it up with some scope guard or with some telegizmo covers, and people would come by and just be like, wow, you know, what is that? What are you doing? And you know, when are you going to start? And when can I look? And those kinds of things. So the interest was there. It was really great. But that particular image was taken again with our QSI camera, adapted with an adapter on the front that allows us to use a old Pentax 67 lenses. One of the reasons that we like those is they have a huge image circle. So you don't have to worry about any kind of vignetting or anything like that. And they're manual, and you can find a ton of them on eBay for cheap. Any kind of, you know, size that you want, you know, wide angle, you know, telephoto, whatever you zoom lens. I mean, they've got just there's a zillion of them out there.
Right.
And they're good, heavy, nicely built lenses. You know, if you can get a good one that's doesn't have any fungus or anything, but they're really nice lenses.
And this image was done with 150 millimeter Pentax.
Yeah, 150 millimeter lens. In fact, you can see the funky diffraction spikes around Antares up there from where we stopped it down a little bit.
But I was wondering how you got those on there, if that was an after effect or what.
That's actually the aperture blades.
Yeah, the iris.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And just in case you guys are interested, when we go to Fall Creek Falls and or Pin Oak at Natchez Trace, with good nights there, we easily get 21 plus readings on the sky quality meter.
Yeah, 21 plus. I think that night at
Wow.
when we took this image, it was 21.
17.
17. Yeah.
Awesome.
Ironically, John, this past weekend up at Fall Creek Falls, we were dodging clouds, but when it was clear, we hit 21.37.
Yeah.
So it was very dark.
Very good.
So.
Of course.
So,
All right.
as someone who doesn't know sky quality meters, because I'm a planetary guy, can you give a brief?
It's actually it's a little gizmo, and basically you know, it's got a button on the front. You aim it up at the sky, and it takes a measurement of the relative darkness of the sky. So you know, say 15, 16, 17 is, you know, pretty bad. 18, 19, 20 are you know, fairly good skies. 21 plus is outstanding, and I think by definition in the manual, if it's 22 or 23, that's literally unheard of. In fact, they say I don't think there's anywhere on Earth that would register that dark. So 21, you know, 21 and a quarter is pretty doggone good, particularly for around here.
Nice.
And just another thing to clarify on this image was LRGB only, no narrowband in that image at all.
Yeah.
Ah.
All right, very good. All right, so Mike, I wanted to hear a little bit about your setup there too in the background. Why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about that? in your world?
Sure.
I don't see a telescope.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Well, so so the funny thing is I picked up astronomy as a hobby when I was in high school, and I had a small refractor, and I think the only thing I could find were planets pretty easily. You know, when you're at, the cheap department store ones are f/15 and above, so they're not real good like quality like the ones that you guys are using for deep sky work. So planets were easy. You could slap a high magnification eyepiece in, you could see bands of Jupiter and the rings of Saturn, things like that. So I went to school, learned a lot more about stuff, forgot everything when I got into computers and IT. And then when I picked it back up, I picked everything back up with the mindset that I was going to continue to do planetary work. And I had my eye on I'm kind of like Tammy and Craig, where I set up and tear down every night, and I have a lot of trees around where I am. So I said, I want to get an 8-inch scope. So I have my eye on the single arm fork from Celestron, which I think is parked in the corner. I'll bring that out a different night. But I started with just visual work, just doing planets, because that's what I knew and that's what I worked on. And I would go and compare my own eyes results from my head and memory. Maybe I would sketch it out sometimes to things I would see online, and it was never the same. I said, what am I doing wrong here? You know, I have an 8-inch, and this guy's got an 8-inch, or this girl's got an 8-inch, and nothing looks the way these pictures look. And then it dawned on me, and I should have known this because I went to school and I studied quantum efficiency and all that sort of stuff, that they were using cameras and I wasn't. So I went down that slippery path of getting into buying webcams and industrial cameras that were more sensitive and had higher frame rates, and that slippery slope of imaging just sucked me in and ate me alive. That's a good one there. So and I got to build myself up through the 8-inch, and I got bigger and better cameras, and I got to the point where I was pretty much, I would say, comfortable with what I was doing. I would maybe at the top of my game. I mean, once you've mastered some of the basics, and I think we were talking last time about how it's a lot like fishing or any other hobby where you just got to go out and you got to do it. And the more you do it, the better you get at it, the more you understand principles of thermal stability, of collimation and focusing, and the basics of seeing, because everybody says seeing is king, and you don't really experience it in its goodness until you've experienced a lot of bad, and you have to go out enough times to see this distribution of weather patterns that you get. Maybe you get one perfect night every 4 or 5 years, and most of the nights are average. And so once you get to understand a lot of those things, you get really good at imaging, and you know where your sweet spots for your settings are and things like that. And it was around that time, I think it was about 2009, maybe or 2010, I'd had my 8-inch scope for 3 or 4 years. And I said, okay, I think I know what I'm doing with this thing. I want bigger, I want better, right? Everybody gets aperture fever at a certain point, and that's when I started thinking about maybe getting a C14 from Celestron, because 14 was pretty well portable still. Anything above 14 inches was maybe not so portable. But I was looking more at it. I said, I own a Schmidt Cassegrain already. I know some of the things that I don't necessarily like about it. It's a closed tube as opposed to an open Newtonian design. But I couldn't find a 14-inch Newtonian that I really liked. There were some good ones overseas, but I didn't want to deal with overseas shipping and payments overseas in different currencies. And so I said, I know who's got a really good Newtonian that I really admire is Anthony Wesley. So I started nagging him at every turn, and he was very helpful. And at one point I said, look, just sell me your 13-inch. I'll deal with that one. He says, no, you don't want that one. It's all banged up. I don't even think I would know how to ship it anyways. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to copy your design as much as I could. So if you compare my telescope to Anthony's, there's a lot of similarities, and that's the reason why. So I started with a mount and found the max capacity of the mount that I wanted and just designed the scope around that. So I have a Celestron CGE that is rated for 65 pounds, and I pushed it to the limits. I had no intention of doing any deep sky guiding at the time, and said 65 pounds coming from a single arm fork, and you touch it, focus it, and it kind of wobbles a little. I can tolerate that. I mean, I had some pain points that I was accepting of. And so built grabbed the mirror manufacturer, grabbed the secondary, put it all in a little spreadsheet with the weights and the costs and everything else, and made it all work. So I never thought of myself as an amateur telescope maker. I've never been to Stellafane before, but I was determined to get what I wanted out of it, and I think I got a pretty good result. So.
Well, I think so too. I just posted up there your Mars 2014 retrograde colors.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's
nice.
the result of a lot of just going out. I like Mars because it only comes around every other year, right? Just because of the way the orbits work and the timing of things. So when it fades
Right.
into the sun in the next month or two, you won't see it again until about late 2015, 2016. So the fact that I have to wait means that I want to go after it even more. And so pretty much any clear night, I went out. Even if it was average, I went out, and that was a result of it. That was probably more than half of the images from the nights that I went out.
Right.
There were a bunch that ended up on the cutting room floor, as it were. And it was interesting to see them all together. I find, at least for planetary work, when you're in the middle of the processing phases, a little stare and compare side by side actually really helps. You say, okay, this is too much or this is too little, and you go, okay, what about the colors? Colors match up. So putting them all, I think there was 18 or 19 images on that set there. Putting them all together was kind of an interesting task. And then
Sure.
to step off of that, I took all of them together and made a little rotating full globe map. Which
Yeah. If you had a link to that, I don't have that handy, but
Oh yeah, let me see if I can
just
find that.
awesome work. Awesome work with that. Now, Bill, did you have something up there earlier that you looked like you wanted to
I
share?
did have something up. I just was I brought this up right now because they were talking about the sky quality. I don't have a darkness of sky meter because it's pretty dark, so I'm not, I'm in a fixed location, so I'm pretty much
Right.
what I see is what I get. But what is useful is if you look at the screen now, I have the one thing I have is a thunderstorm off to the west. You can see it's pretty big.
That is.
Yeah, it extends all the way over the mountains. A cloud sensor, and you can see it just got cloudy here recently. But the more critical one is where it says Raptor Ridge Current Seeing. It's a Santa Barbara Instruments seeing monitor, and it at night when it's dark, and this shows last night's, and you can see there's some breaks in it because it was cloudy off and on last night. But what it does is it stares at Polaris all night, and it takes a series of images, and it measures basically the jitter or the stability of the seeing. And that lets me know, do I want to take color images? Do I want to take luminance images? And although you can usually tell that from looking at your guiding or take some images and look at the size of your stars, this kind of gives me an idea of, scientifically on a measurement capability and a continuous real-time capability, what it's doing. So it gives me a little bit better idea of, what I want to be doing that particular night.
That's really interesting. Yeah. Now
It's been a very useful. Pardon?
What again is the camera that you?
It's a Santa Barbara Instruments seeing monitor.
Oh,
And all
okay.
it does is mount on a post, and it communicates, I believe, via serial. I think as I recall, it's serial because it's such a small chip, and it only cycles a small percentage of the time. And I've got it running through a USB to serial converter down to the house. But it basically comes on at whatever you've got time you've got it set. I think I've got it set to come on at 10 o'clock and go off at 4 in the morning, and then it will generate the graph, and I upload that to the website periodically and can monitor it. But Santa Barbara Instruments makes it, and
Very interesting.
I
Yeah.
think it's a couple $1,000s or a little more, something like that. But it's been very reliable. It runs, really well. For the first year I had it, they were having some problems. It was burning out chips right and left. But Santa Barbara is one of those companies that honors their warranty even after it's expired.
Sure. Wow.
So
That's good.
they finally solved that problem though. So it's working just fine now. Let me switch to the other image that you were talking about here. And we'll find that. There we go. This one I just processed today, actually. It's Vandenberg 150, taken with the FSQ. Actually, some of the data was last summer, and some of it was last week.
Crazy good.
It's 27 and a half hours total, I think it was, or 27.3. I'd have to look at my own text here to make sure, but it came out pretty well, yeah. I like this little galaxy over here.
Oh, where's the galaxy at? Oh, yeah, I see it.
Right there on the right, kind of.
Okay, yeah.
Right of that
Yeah.
big star.
So the Vandenberg is a catalog of just, what is this, dark nebula?
Pretty much dark nebula, yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
And there's a lot, if you look up other images of Vandenberg 150 on the web, or Vandenberg objects in general, in fact, you'll find that some of them show just this main central area. Some of them show much more clearly the fainter stuff, and you can see there's some faint nebulosity here and up here, and over on the upper right. I'm one of those people that I'm really more interested in seeing the main object, and I hate noise in my images. So I would rather, you kind of sometimes have to make a decision. I mean, even with 27 hours of exposure time, you're going to get noise in the really, really faint stuff, and you can do more exposure, but that's a diminishing returns sort of situation. So at some point you kind of have to make the decision of, do you want to show more and have more noise, or do you want to show less and have less noise? And I tend to go for the less and less noise, because I see these images on the web sometimes that are just grainy, and I go, it kind of makes it's like fingernails on a chalk on a blackboard to me. Something about that. You work so hard to get rid of the noise. I just and PixInsight does a really good job with its noise reduction algorithms, but there are limits, to
Craig,
what you can do.
Don't you guys use that? PixInsight, I think, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're still climbing the learning curve, but getting more proficient with it each time, and I've gotten comfortable enough with it that we pretty much use that for kind of like what Bill was saying, for like 95 to 98% of the processing, and then some final tweaks and stuff in Photoshop. So.
Have you got Warren's videos?
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah, well, he's without those, I would be, probably much more lost than I am. I mean, there's some guys that have free videos out there, and some of them are pretty good, Harry particularly, but Warren's videos are just, spectacularly well done. Yeah.
Yeah, they're fantastic, and I have kind of stumbled upon some things here lately that it's kind of like, you know what, I just don't know if we've got hours and hours to just search the internet to find out what each and every little button and slider and everything does. So I was playing with some things in one of the tools the other day and was like, I'm just going to see what this does, and it happened to be something that was good. Now I haven't had the opportunity to do enough processing to say, okay, that's repeatable. It's good every time I do that, but I lucked up onto something the other day that turned out to be a good thing. So some of this
every once in a while you'll do something, I don't want to say by accident, but you'll try something that on a situation where you weren't really too clear about how it worked, and it'll actually work, but then you have to figure out why it worked, which is
because
not always easy.
Yeah, that was my point about I haven't had the opportunity to do anything to find out if it's repeatable. So.
All right. Now, to the other end of the spectrum here, Ahmed, I know you kind of dabble in some astrophotography, right?
Yeah.
And you have anything that you want to share up at the moment, or?
Sure, why not? I'm way out of my league here, though.
But see, that's the great thing, though, and the purpose of this hangout is to bring in people with different backgrounds. Because I'm in the same league with you, I don't do really any astrophotography, so to speak. I do mostly the live imaging. In fact, someone mentioned here, Michael Jobin in the Q&A mentioned, hey, what about the virtual star parties? And yep, virtual star parties, which are usually hosted by Fraser Kane, are on here on the Google Plus Hangouts. I know that they've kind of cut back on the frequency of those, but that was a lot of fun. And I think Michael's even talked about it too, where we could use these opportunities here in the Astronomers Hangout here to go ahead and even share some live views, because to me that's really important for everyone out there watching to get involved with the hobby. They don't have to have all this fantastic equipment that Bill does and Craig and Tammy does. They can do things, just get out and observe, even if it's with a pair of binoculars. That's what I want to encourage people to do. But while you're looking it up, Ahmed, if you want, or if you have something in particular that you want to share, I'll go ahead and pop back on over to me. Now, I'm sure this is probably going to irritate Bill because this is a little bit noisy, but this is a live image. This is with a new setup that I've had for a little while. This is with a Lodestar X2 guide camera with a software called Lodestar Live. And this was a 30-second exposure right out back at my scope setup. And for me, this is exactly what I'm going for, because I want to have these objects visible to me and enjoy it visually, as well as share that view with people if possible. And of course, the internet, Google Plus, Hangouts, Night Sky Networks permit this. I mean, to me, I'm thrilled with this type of image. I mean, it's got the IC, I think that's IC 1296 Galaxy. Barely visible, but hey, it's there. This is no filters, and this is a 30-second exposure with a really modest camera. And I'll show you here what my mount and my observatory is, just so that again we're kind of going over the different spectrum here of everything. This is my little mini-me observatory. This is the pier here with a CG5, nice. A very, very low-end mount, go-to mount, and of course that little building behind it is the cover. When the weather's comfortable, I can set up out there, but frankly, I'm actually usually inside, remote controlling the scope with a laptop connected up, outside to it. But that's kind of what I like to do. And I've had some pretty decent results here. Let me go ahead and I'll share out this other screen here. We got, of course, the dumbbell, and again, this was another 30-second exposure. I mean, that's a fair amount of detail. Again, right there.
30 seconds from your location. Yeah, that's good.
No filter. I do have a light pollution filter. I haven't tested it out yet with this setup, but I'm very happy with something like that. Here's the Eagle Nebula.
Wow.
You can clearly see the Eagle there.
Yep.
A couple of smaller little planetaries. This is right in the middle of M8. Pretty good nebulosity there. Mm-hmm. And this was just the the live screen. But I guess my point is, hey, it's great that's M2. I love M2. M2, of course, is a globular cluster. Yeah, this was 5 seconds.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a 5-second exposure. It's another M2.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Yeah, if you click on my picture there, I'll show you what you can get with a point and shoot.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, you got quite a bit of stars back there.
Yeah, that's a 30-second exposure, and it's two buddies of mine that were actually just a little ways south of Prineville. So they got their computer monitors on, of course, and one really bright red light. But yeah, the stars popped up. It just turned out really, really nice. But that's typically what a imaging setup looks like when you're not too concerned about blinding out everybody else around in the star field.
That's gotta be out at George's. I recognize that tower.
Yes. Let's see here. If
there you go.
Get intelligent, I can probably show you what the place looks like. Oops. Go through the bugs.
A little buggy there, huh?
Yeah. Kristen, we do have our relaxation. That's a good friend of mine, Howard. But, we have Falling Star Wine.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Falling Star Wine. Keeping with the good theme there. There you go.
Yep. But this is the observing field. That's looking almost due west. So we have off to the very left is LX90 that I have as a grab and go. Way in the background, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this company, but it's called Sidereal Technologies. He makes a really good tracking system, but we call this the Blue Boy because it's quite literally all blue. But we throw all sorts of scopes on this thing, so it's a really nice. It's too bad that we have to. My friend Chuck who owned half the property. He got bought out, so we got to move. But that's looking off to the west. That is what is that? No, it's not Jefferson. That's one of the other volcanoes off to the west there on the Cascade Range. So that's up in the high desert in Oregon. There we go. There's the shack and everything.
Nice.
So yeah, this was a really nice place.
Well, you have to come and visit here instead, Tom.
Absolutely.
And when you're talking, as we're talking about those mountains, if you look at my screen, those are the same mountains we're talking about that Tom was just showing. There happened to be a Moon-Venus conjunction, and this is again what you can do with simple equipment. I mean, this is my DSLR. 200. Actually, I think this is a 400 millimeter lens, a 200 with a doubler, and just on a regular tripod, not even on a mount. And what I did is I took several shots to get the moon, one so that I could get the earth shine part of it with one exposure, another so I could get the non-earth shine, the illuminated portion of the moon with another exposure, and another a third exposure to get the mountains and the sunset, and then yet a fourth exposure to get Venus, which again you can see those diffraction spikes from the iris. And then basically just assembled them all in Photoshop to get what I call unreal reality, because although you wouldn't get that with a single shot, it does really represent what you see with your eye more than a single shot would. So, you can certainly do that with, ordinary DSLR camera equipment.
Yeah, that's an awesome picture, really and that's great. We're basically sharing different techniques, different equipment all across a broad spectrum of what you can do with some different equipment. You don't have to have a whole lot of expensive stuff. You can have a lot of fun in astronomy with some
Actually, I've got
stuff.
On that note, I've got something that I want to show.
Okay, yeah.
And this is another shot of a lunar eclipse done with a very similar technique. This was, I think, a couple of years ago. And again, just a DSLR, took all the multiple shots, but noted in the picture relative to the foreground trees, and this was taken from my deck, noted relative to the foreground trees where the moon was when it started, where it was when it ended, and then took those individual shots, placed them on the arc, again, to give you a representation of what it looked like in reality.
Cool, very good. Yeah, that beautiful. Hitting the penumbra starting, and then how it goes into the umbra and that deep color there as it gets lower and lower. Very nice. So what you got there, Ahmed?
Coming up right now. All right, can you see it?
Yeah, this is from Astronomers. It looks like. There you go.
Yeah. So that was taken with a Canon Rebel T3i. That's like the second cheapest DSLR you could get with a 50 millimeter lens, which is like all of $40 on an Orion Mini Q. It's a tiny little tabletop equatorial mount. I put an RA drive on it. It's like an $80 mount or something like that.
Wow.
It's 240 10-second exposures. I don't know if that's efficient or not. It was a long time ago that I took this one.
I think it came out good, yeah.
Yeah, the colors are great. I mean, Betelgeuse is just standing out there.
You've got Flame Nebula, Orion Nebula. Yep. Horsehead didn't show up because it was an unmodified camera, but
yeah.
And, this is fun. I live right by NASA's Michoud Center, and the Endeavour had flown right over it. So that was just DSLR and 270 millimeter zoom lens.
Yeah, that's
cool.
Nice.
And this is like the only good image I've ever taken. That was with.
That's a great image.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot harder object than most people think. Unless you've actually tried, it's actually a very hard object to get like that.
It is.
You did a good job.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, nice job on that one, because that one is a toughie.
Thank you. That's this is the rig that took that shot. It's a Stellar View 90mm SVR 90.
All right.
Very nice.
I know a lot of people here have Stellar View.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of love out there for the Stellar
View.
View.
Yeah.
And that's just a C-gem on there, and you've got down here a QHY 8 Pro, and yeah, you got a little Orion G3 color, which used to be my imaging camera, but now I use it as an auto guider there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's
And
chronological view of every photo I've ever taken.
All right, very good.
I see that Ahmed. I saw that ADM plate on there, and Anthony makes some excellent accessories. And unless you know, especially for those of us that don't know anything about machining any metal, he makes just about anything.
See, I've been getting into 3D printing my own telescope accessories.
Awesome.
That's it.
Oh, wow.
That is going to be
there
a
it is.
fantastic future topic right there, because
That,
I thought of the same thing.
That gray thing you see there is it's just a dovetail adapter, but it needed to go on the mounting rings here, and nothing like that existed, so I had to make it on my own.
Awesome.
Cool.
Very cool.
What is the material?
That's ABS plastic.
Ah.
Which also, actually, on that note, let me get out of screen share because it's on something I got on me right now. I now own a Hubble telescope.
What?
Oh,
Very cool.
That one just finished printing this afternoon.
What do you use, a MakerBot or something different?
It's a here, I'll show it to you. It's a Zortrax M200 is what it's called.
Why is it every time I watch something related to astronomy, my checking account just seems to go down?
Open your one already.
That's
I made a bunch of notes of things to buy already. So
Yeah,
bad influence.
exactly.
That's the printer that I use.
Cool.
And it's really good. It's the second 3D printer that I've owned. The first one was not that great.
Well, the interesting thing is Home Depot, I think, is going to start having their own, either they're going to make, if you bring in your own designs, or maybe they're just going to go ahead and start selling the objects. I wasn't quite sure on that. But anyway, so
There's
3D
an online
printing is
service
hitting
that can do
mainstream.
that for you.
you just had to tell us that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's
Yeah,
a
I think
website.
Home Depot is selling them.
Is it they're selling the printing?
Office Depot. Office Depot.
Office
It's called
Depot.
the.
Office
I think
Depot,
I think it's
okay,
called
okay.
the Up Mini or something.
Astronomy can lead you to spend all sorts of money on things that you had
Oh,
never
so many.
anticipated spending them on.
we're so-
If you look at my screen, this is what I'm building right now.
Oh, I can print one of those.
It's in my case, I bought a CNC router, wood router, in order
That's
to
on my
make
to-do list.
this and also wooden clocks. But right now, I happen to be building this particular thing, and it gives you all sorts of astronomical information.
That's very cool. I
Have you
would
guys
like
seen
to,
the? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Have you guys seen the Orrery watch? It's like a wristwatch here. I got a picture of it pulled up now.
I wanted to put a quick disclaimer, legal disclaimer. We are not responsible for any money that you're going to spend on any of the objects discussed on this show, by the way.
That's a wristwatch that
Nor
rotates
for the
actual
bad
speed.
weather that comes afterwards.
Yeah, so in other words, if we wind up bankrupt, we can't sue you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Joe, God, they made me spend all my money.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Oh,
Wow, I don't want to know what that costs.
Yeah,
Oh,
really.
I forgot. Some gigantic number, like ridiculous. Like hundreds of thousands.
Oh, wow.
Mercury every 88 days, Venus every 224 days. Yeah, it's accurate.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
$245,000.
Oh, is that all?
Oh, that's all.
yeah.
That's like a get well soon gift.
Yeah.
Christmas
Yeah.
presents all around.
Wow.
Gorgeous though.
All right, well, back to reality.
Yeah, for real.
All right, so we are actually, time's zooming by here. We are actually a little bit over our hour time limit here. Oh, it's actually, Bill's got something up I see that he maybe wanted to talk about. Is that another Vandenberg Dark Neb? Bill? Oh, he might be muted or away. Oh, there he goes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm muted. There we go. Vandenberg 123 is what it is, and one of the other ones I've taken this summer. This one was with the FSQ as opposed to the. Well, wait a minute, the other one was FSQ too. I'm confusing what I've processed versus what I'm actually taking right now, but it's unusual for Vandenberg. Most of them tend to have a lot of red hydrogen alpha nebulosity in it, whereas this one has got a lot of blue. So.
Yeah, very nice.
It's a very good shot.
Yeah, very nice.
Whoa, what is that?
I think Michael's got up.
Yeah, I figured I'd
Sweet.
leave you with my little spinning Mars globe.
Oh, nice.
So the little retrograde motion
Yeah.
of all 19 images, I think I used about 7 or 8 of them to make this almost seamless rotation. I think there's one little glitch somewhere, but I myself could sit here and watch this for hours upon end, and I think I posted it to the event page if you want to go watch it on your own too later.
That's excellent.
That is very cool.
That's awesome.
That is.
Very cool. Yeah. And, you know, the views at the eyepiece of Mars are very pretty. I encourage everybody to go ahead out there and try to observe. Now, as we are wrapping up, I think for tonight's episode, we had a lot of great discussion, more getting to know everybody that will be contributing off and on. I hope so. I do want to leave on one note here. I do want to make sure that I give a shout out for us solar observers out there. This is solarham.net. This gives you some great opportunities to check out if you have the proper filters for white light. Plenty of sunspots right now. I know that we had a little bit of a lull for a lack of sunspots for a little while, but it looks like we have some great opportunities to catch some white light observing for the sun with some safe solar filters. So if you want to know more about that, you can head on over to solarham.net, and of course you can also check out Solar Activity, the website there. I know Tammy puts a lot of images up there too for that great website, and of course find out more from heading on over to the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, where hopefully Stephen Ramsden will join us one night and talk a little bit about his recent trip to Australia, down under. Sorry, that was a horrible accent, but hey. And talk a little bit about that and what he's got coming up and some great things from him. So, any other parting words from everybody?
John, I just want to tell you, I'll try to have for our next meeting on a solar note. You may already be aware of this, but if you're not, I actually get emails from, and again, I don't have this right off the top of my head, so I'll try to have this together for the next meeting, but I get emails to my inbox when solar flares are happening. So, you know, nice. For folks who are interested in the solar, especially for those that image, you know, that want to capture those solar flares. But I believe that folks with H-alpha telescopes can actually sometimes see the flares. But I can't remember the site where I get those emails, but it's very easy to sign up. And when there is a flare, it will send the email to your inbox, and it will tell you the type of flare, you know, like if it's a Class C or Class M or whatever, and then when the flare is over, or if it's a very long one, they'll send you an intermediate email to tell you that the flare is still going on, and awesome. Then when the flare is over, you get an email that tells you the flare has ended. So, you know, sometimes it doesn't really do you much good from the standpoint that if you're not already set up, you know, that they happen so fast you don't have time to get set up. But if you're already set up, you know, then they can be really handy for catching those flares, especially for folks that are imaging. So absolutely, great point. And I think even today, Randy Shivak,
I believe is how he pronounces his name there. There was a C9 flare today, it looks like, that he was able to catch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and definitely, if you want to know what's going on the sun, definitely hit Charlie Bates and solar activity, because as soon as those shots start coming, the folks capture them, man, they get them processed and start posting them right away. So.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Very good. And Bill's got a
Canis Major.
That's
Yeah.
the dog star. No.
There you go. There you go.
Astronomy companion, and he guards the
Yep.
telescope.
Very good. Very good.
And
Well,
a good friend.
Yeah, yep, no doubt. Good to have a companion when you're out observing. Well, all right, we're not too sure when our next episode will come up. We're going to go ahead and talk amongst ourselves, kind of plan that, but we're going to be sending out those invites, so keep an eye out on Google Plus or Facebook pages, etc. Certainly, Telescope Addicts on Facebook. We'll go ahead and post up any other events. No doubt, because hopefully a lot of folks from Telescope Addicts, that site is only 2 years old and well over 10,000 members, so that's a fine job there on the social media from Ahmed there on exploding the membership for that page. I want to go ahead and say thank you to Ahmed for joining in here. Thank you to Bill for giving us some insight on his wonderful equipment and information and pages. If you want to see some images that he's done, head on over to nightskypictures.com for Bill McLaughlin. And of course, right up the road from me, Craig and Tammy Temple, they have wonderful images as well posted up to cntastro.smugug.com, and you can see some great stuff from them. They also post a lot on the Tennessee Astro Yahoo groups. And of course, Michael Phillips.
Thank you for having me, John.
Hey, no problem. You and I'm sure we're going to be talking more about doing some live broadcasts, because you sound very passionate about that. Of course, you had the whole crew coming out for the virtual star party to your place.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that before, but you have a great setup for that, and looking forward to any time that we can go ahead and hook up to do that.
Absolutely.
And of course, Tom Navy, thank you for heading on over here and giving your insight into some things. It was lots and lots of fun. Looking forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm John Kramer, and we're going to wrap it up for tonight. So thanks everybody for being on over here. Knights of the Round Table for the Astronomers Hangout. So until next time, thanks everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.